Hello everyone, welcome to Dice Commando. This is a deck tech video for Kragan the Pirate and Pyre, both from the new set. They actually work pretty well together. I like this little deck. So first off, we have Kragan Gore. So obviously he does the whole steal thing if you can play it off. However, I do want to point out that I think you can lose a lot by trying too much to play around his ability. So just look at this guy's dice. He's Beckett on steroids, costs one more than Beckett, but he's pretty darn good. That 3 indirect is not to be underestimated. So don't be afraid to just roll him out. And then there are a lot of tricks in this little deck around Pyre, right? So after you claim or take control of the battlefield, deal 1 indirect damage to an opponent. Okay, so we're going to build a lot of tricks around that. Then we are, of course, playing on the Salt Flats. Turn a die to a side showing a blank, or turn one of your leader dice to any side. Both these guys are leaders, and of course, Pyre is a leader trooper. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with the downgrade. So we're playing 2 copies of Cruel Methods, right? So after you claim or take control of the battlefield, deal 1 damage to attacked character. So of course it does 1, but it does the Pyre ability directly to that character, and it is not indirect. This card is very sweet for an opening, and it's kind of fun because you can throw it on the character that you're not going to be going after, because then they just sit kind of accrue damage, and then all of a sudden at the end of the game they've got 3 or 4 damage on them. That's how I like to use it anyway. All right, so let's go into the upgrades that we're running here. So I'm playing 1 copy of Donderbus. I'm playing 2 copies of A300. I'm playing 2 copies of Pyre's Blaster. Now, this one is an interesting 2 of include. So let's talk about that for a sec, right? So after you play this upgrade on Pyre, take control of the battlefield. It has all modified sides. Pretty good little gun for 2, but again, it's a unique, so why play 2 of them? The answer is what I'm actually doing is I'm throwing this down a lot to grab the battlefield, and then I'll actually overwrite it with one of the redeploys later. And then once you get down later in game, you can overwrite what you overwrote with Pyre's Blaster to take control of the battlefield again, right? So it's really just an extra battlefield control card with some pretty gnarly sides on it. We are playing 2 Riot Shields, and then I basically consider these guys to be upgrades because functionally they roll in. Both your guys are leaders, so they functionally roll in. So 2 conscript squads, of course, and then Improvised Explosive. I realize that's not an upgrade at all, but this guy's a damage dealer. I know you guys are sick of hearing about it, but I really love this card, right? Especially in this deck when we're throwing indirect across the table with Pyre. This guy really works out well. You tend to a lot of the time have a resource left over. You can drop it early. I really like that. So that is the upgrade and support package. All right, so a fair number of events here, but let's start with what I like to call the Pyre Package. So it's your 8 cards here, and it's pretty straightforward with what you're trying to do. It's taking charge, which lets you control lets you take control of the battlefield. It does have ambush. We of course have seizing territory, which is the 0-cost version of this. The reason this one costs 1 is it gives you a little more. But then you have the 2 matching cards, which really are the reason that Pyre has to almost be played with yellow. It almost has to play him with yellow. But it's Hasty Exit and Survival Instinct, right? So you have the battlefield, you toss it back to him to get something out of it, then you play one of these and you get it back, you're dealing the indirect. It's really, again, the Pyre package, it's not too complicated there. Furthermore, we do have Measure for Measure, because with Pyre, he is a trooper. Okay, so those cards are really the cards we're playing for Pyre. Now let's move into kind of the other tech. So I'm playing Truce. Of course, I'm playing the OG Truces because I like this art better. But this one works with Kragan, right? So a lot of times what they'll do is to play around Kragan. Let's get him out here and read him again, right? What they'll do what your opponent will do to play around Kragan is they'll just spend their money early. And then what you can do is, if they don't have anything, just Truce, you each gain $1, and then you can roll them in. Now you effectively have $2, right? So not a super complicated play there, but Truce is a great card with Kragan. We're throwing indirect all over the place. Act of Cruelty is fantastic. Playing 1 copy of DM. Playing 1 copy of Sinister Peace. And then I'm playing 1 copy of Command and Conquer. This is kind of a new little cool card. So spot a pilot to activate it, not relevant here, but spot a leader to turn one of your character dice on each side, and spot a trooper to resolve one of your dice. And you can do all of those, right? So for 1, you can flip a die to any side and immediately resolve it. Now do note that you can only resolve that die. So like if you have modifieds out there, you can't go to a 2-gun and then modify it, but you can throw Kragan into a 3 and throw it across the table or something like that for a nice little surprise kill. So that's why I'm playing 1 of those. It's kind of spicy in this deck because you have everything you need. And of course Pyre himself can do the bottom too, even if Kragan's dead. So that's pretty much it, straightforward. I really like this deck, having a lot of fun with it. It just generates a lot of damage really pretty fast, and then all of a sudden, right, it's not all necessarily targeted damage, but remember, they just start running out of places to put it, and then they lose one of their characters, and all of a sudden their second guy only has 5 or 6 hit points left. So it's kind of a cool little deck. It's pretty fast, and you can do a lot of tricks with it. So I don't know, that's my take. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If nothing else, go Commando.